Hello friends and welcome to Tutorials Point. Well, in our day-to-day life, aren't there many words, many sentences, many messages which we convey to others and many messages which others convey to us, right? So how do we report them all? Or to be more precise, if you've said something or you're a speaker, you're the main speaker who is conveying some message in your quote-unquote words, and now whatever message that you've conveyed, some other person wants to convey your message to some third person, how is he or she going to convey that? Or for that reason, if someone said something and now you want to quote that message to someone else, how are you going to do it? So all of this entire gossip and message and whatever information sharing thing that we do it either in the form of direct speech or in the form of indirect speech, right? Now we'll see how does it actually happen, right? So now let's go ahead. And why should we read it? Of course, because we have to keep talking, right? We have to keep communicating. We cannot stop communication till the time we are all alive. It's as important as breathing, isn't it? Yes, it is. So now let's go ahead and study as to how do we communicate our message, or how do we communicate someone else's message, through what way do we use to convey it. So let's study in detail about it so that we are clear about that. Okay, so as I already told you, right, whenever someone says something or whenever we convey a message, it could be either through direct speech or through indirect speech, right? So now let's study first of all what is direct speech and what is indirect speech. Okay. Now, direct, indirect, two ways, already I've discussed it with you. Now, what is direct speech? In direct speech, the words of the speaker are unchanged and enclosed in quotation marks. So, we might have seen this, at many places, maybe sometimes reading in magazines, newspapers, or sometimes even in those WhatsApp messages that we see. There are certain sentences or quotations which are in double quotes. So what is that? That is actually what is direct speech, because there you are word to word you are conveying whatever the speaker said. There it's completely untouched and unchanged, right? So that is whenever it's enclosed in quotation marks, that is when it is referred to as direct speech, right? So a comma or a colon is used after said to introduce the spoken words unchanged, right? So, right, that is how it is conveyed. For example, he said, so then you have a comma after that, and then post that it's in quotation marks, I am going to the market. So this is how you convey, right? So whenever you are conveying some someone else's words as they are without any change, that is when it is said to be indirect speech. And how do you convey it? It's always conveyed in colons, in quotation marks, right? So you see that here. So whatever verb that you want to use basis the tense, that you want to use in the context of the sentence or the message that you are conveying. So it could be he said. Now this is in past tense, it could be in any tense. That's completely your discretion as to how you want to portray, or also basis when has the speaker said that, of course. So he said, and then you have a comma, and then you have it's the word to word whatever the speaker said. So you are portraying, or you are as it is conveying it word to word to whomever you want to convey it to, right? So in indirects, now this is what happens in direct speech, but what happens in indirect speech? How do we convey that? So in that case, in indirect speech, the actual words are not quoted. So you're not quoting someone word to word, you are paraphrasing it, you are changing it. But having said that, even if you're changing it, the meaning doesn't change, the meaning remains the same, just that you're not conveying it or passing it on word to word the way you did it in direct speech, right? So Here in indirect speech, the actual words are not quoted as the tense needs to be changed. So there your tense is going to change. Now we will of course, we are going to once we go ahead, proceed forward, we will see as to what are the conditions under which we need to change the tense or when we do not need to change the tense. But for now, just keep this thing clear in your mind that what is indirect speech. In indirect speech, of course, you are not conveying the message word to word or quote unquote. You are not presenting the message of the speaker. Rather, you are changing it and then presenting it, though the meaning remains the same. Or a better word would be you are paraphrasing it and presenting it, right? So, for example, now this same sentence which here was in your direct speech, now how do you convey it in indirect speech? He said that he was going to the market, right? So here the tense has changed. Now when it was, whenever the speaker said this, I am going to the market, was in, this was an event that happened in the past, right? So that time the speaker said this thing. Now that event has already happened, right? Why? How do you gauge that? Of course, because here, what have we written? We've said, we've written he said, which means we are talking about something that happened in the past. Now that has already happened, and now that entire situation which has happened, now you are quoting it to someone else, right? So it is but obvious that something that, this time when the speaker was speaking was his or her present situation, right? So the speaker was using the present tense, but now when we are quoting it, it's no more a present situation. It has gone, it's gone past. It is something for us that happened in the past. It's a past tense. So then how do you convey it? Of course, you'll have to change the tense, right? Now you understand the significance of this part which we've used here, which we've just narrated. I just narrated it to you that the tense needs to change. This is why your tense is changing, because when it was said, in direct speech, that time the time frame was different. Now when we are presenting it, it's in a different time frame. Of course, how do we gauge that? Basis the verb which is used here, right? So he said that he was going to the market. Now from here you can understand that obviously whatever I am conveying to some third person, or the message of someone else whom I am conveying to some third person, was something that happened in the past. So he said that he was going to the market, right? So this is how I'm going to present it in indirect speech, right? So you understand the message remains the same, just that we've paraphrased it and we have presented it. Now, I think this much you are all definitely clear as to what is direct speech and what is indirect speech, right? So now a slide stage is set. So let's forge ahead, go forward and see as to how do we convert, or what are certain technicalities related to direct and indirect speech. Of course. So first, let's just understand what is what is the structure of your direct speech. Now, there are basically two parts of direct speech. So what are they? So first is your reporting verb, and second is your reporting speech. Now, what is reporting verb? Now, if you remember, here in the last slide, while I was I was explaining you as to how do you gauge the time frame. So I said this is the verb basis which you decide as to is it something that is related to the the present, the past, or the future, right? So here it's from here you can gauge. So now this part of the direct speech is called as reporting verb, right? Let's get back here. So here, for example, if you see the sentence, she said, then in quotes, which means it is a direct speech, I am listening to music, right? So this part is your reporting verb, right? Because this is telling you about the time frame of when that particular event or when that particular dialogue was delivered, right? So, and what is reporting speech? Of course, the word to word, whatever verbatim that you've passed on about from the speaker which you've passed on is what is your reporting speech, right? So first this basic structure, once you're clear about it, it is from here that we can go ahead and read in detail about it, right? So you just for now it's clear, I'm sure, that direct speech has two parts. One is your reporting verb and second is your reporting speech. Okay, now we are clear about the structure of your direct speech, right, as to how it is portrayed. Now let's see how are you going to convert direct into indirect. Now, first thing that you need to keep in mind while you are converting is that the words of the speaker should not be kept in your quotation marks, which is obvious, right, which is absolutely imperative and essential, because what is the main difference between direct and indirect speech? Of course, the difference primarily comes from the fact that there are no quotation marks in your indirect speech, right? So that's the prerequisite, that's the first thing. Now, what's the second thing? Now, here is how you when the technicality starts to creep in, right? Now conjunction that is used between reporting verb and reporting speech. So this is what you need to keep in mind, right? You are now aware, right, what is reporting verb and reporting speech? I told you about the structure. So here you have to use a conjunction that between your reporting verb and speech. Now how do you get it into picture? How do you materialize this? So he says that he loves cricket, right? So that you used that between your reporting verb and your reporting speech, right? Then what's the third point? Now change the tense of the reporting speech. Now when do you change the tense of the reporting speech? If the reporting verb of the direct speech is in past tense, right? So when it is in past tense, only then you're going to change the tense of your reporting speech. And you know that why do we change it, right? If it is in past tense, I explained, I gave you an entire explanation, a cloud of explanation rather, to make you understand the concept as to why do you need to change the tense when the verb is in past tense, right? So if your reporting verb is in past tense is when you're going to change the tense of your reporting speech. But if your reporting verb is not in past tense, which means it is either in present or in future tense, in that case you are not going to change the tense of the reporting speech, right? Okay, look at a few examples. Now, direct speech is, he said, I love apples. Now, it is in past tense, right? From here you can gauge. He said, I love apples. So, when you convert it into indirect speech, how do you do that? So, he said that, from this point, that he loved apples. So, now, I love apples is been converted to he loved apples, right? So, now you understand as to, when we say this tense has to change, what does it or how do you get it into picture, how do you materialize that, what does that mean in real time? So this is what it means. So you've now changed the tense because this is something that you are quoting that happened in the past, right? He said, so which means he said this in the past, that I love apples. That time, that which is past for you now was present for the speaker at the time when it was said, right? So now when you're quoting it, it is past tense for you, which is why you are converting the tense of the reporting speech. Clear? Okay, now direct speech is he says. Now if we say he says, which means it is present. So if it is present, the first thing that strikes to your mind is you don't change the tense of the reporting speech, right? The tense is going to remain the same. He says, I'm going to join the party tonight. So how do you convert it? He says that he is going to join the party tonight. So your tense of the reporting speech did not change because your verb was in present tense, or for that matter, even if it is in future tense, your tense of the reporting speech is not going to change. Simple and easy. I'm sure it is very clear to you. Let's go ahead. Okay, now another important thing which you need to take cognizance of while you are converting direct speech into indirect speech is that the pronoun which has been used in the direct speech also changes. Now first of all, why does it change? Let's just understand, right? Let's look at a verbatim. He said, I eat 2 apples daily. Now imagine, this entire speech when it actually happened. Not that now that you're reporting it, forget that. First of all, get into that time frame wherein it actually happened, right? So that time the speaker said, I eat 2 apples daily, right? So speaker referred to himself or herself as I, because the speaker was the first person there. You, to whom the speaker was talking to, was the second person there, right? That was in that time frame. Now come to this time frame. Now here, you who is reporting is the first person. The person to whom you're reporting is the second person. Whereas the person about whom you're reporting is now the third person. Which means the speaker whose verbatim that you're reporting was that time the first person, now has changed into third person, right? So the entire arrangement completely changes. Now that time the speaker was first person, now the speaker is the third person and you are the first person, right? So now you understand, which is why we have to change the pronoun arrangement as well, because the entire dynamics has changed, the time frame has transitioned. So you have to change the pronoun as well. Now when you report it, how would you report it? He said that he, the third person, ate 2 apples daily. You are reporting it, right? So he said that he ate 2 apples daily. You're reporting it to someone else and you are reporting about some third person. So obviously the entire arrangement has now changed. So now your speaker is the third person. So you're going to refer to him or her as a third person pronoun, right? Clear? Okay, now look at another example. She said, I like your book. Now again, imagine the arrangement during the time when it actually happened. Now, I like your book. I, which means the speaker, is the first person. Like your, so that time I was talking to you, right? So you were the second person. So I referred to you as the second person with the second person pronoun. Now, when this transition has taken place, now I, who was the second person that time, is the the first person who's narrating it, right? So I am narrating it to some second person about, and now that speaker who in that time frame was the first person is now the third person about whom I'm narrating, right? So that speaker, the speaker that time told me, I like your book, right? So when I convert it, how does it materialize or how does it manifest itself? Now, she said that she, third person, liked my book, right? So now the speaker, who that time was the first person, has converted into third person. And my book, which means I, because I'm narrating it, I am the first person. So she liked my book. Now is that clear? Now I think once you are clear about the concept, then you need not to cram or mug it up, right? So you should just be thorough with the concept, then automatically your language is going to become very, very seamless and effortless, which definitely is the endeavor, right? You don't have to cram this. So you understood the concept about that entire transition in time frame which took place. So when that transition takes place, so automatically the articulation of your the various nouns, pronouns or verbs or tenses, whatever that comes into picture also changes simultaneously, right? So now you understand as to why it changes, and even if it changes, how do you have to get it into picture, how do you have to use it, right? Okay, another thing which also changes along with pronouns is that whenever you refer to the time frame, that is how does that change? Now changes to then, right? Tomorrow changes to next day. Today changes to that day. Yesterday to the previous day. Now here look at an example to understand this better. Now she said, I am buying a laptop today. Now that time when this particular sentence was said, today, the speaker referred to today about when on today to that particular day, right? Now come to this time frame wherein you are reporting it. So how is this today going to change? Now that time it was today because it was direct. Now today is going to become that today because you are referring or you are reporting something that happened in a particular day, right? Or let us say likewise, if it was tomorrow, if it was yesterday, so the previous day or the next day, right? So this is how the time, words related to time change, right? So look at so here when we convert it, what does it come up to? She said that she was buying a laptop that day because the speaker was referring to the particular day when he or she was speaking about it, right? Now I'm going to refer it as that day. Tomorrow I'm going to refer it as the next day, or yesterday as the previous day, right? So likewise, your time words related to time also change, right? Or if you see this, he said, I need you now, right? So he said that he needed me then. So now is getting converted to then. Right? So these are a few things which you need to take cognizance of while you're converting, and I'm sure by now you are able to articulate all the rules together to get your language into correct shape, right? So now let's go ahead and study or see if there is something else left or not. Yeah? Oh yes, we have something else left as well. So what if, it is, what if the verbatim that you're changing is in the form of interrogation or is in the form of questioning, or to be more specific or precise, if it is in the form of interrogative speech, how do you change it? Right, if the reported speech starts with auxiliary verbs, change it into if or whether, which means if it is in the form of questioning, right? So then how do you convert it, right? So he said, do you know my name? So he asked if, right, she knew his name, right? So here, do you know my name is converted into if she knew his name, because it's in the form of questioning, right? So when you convert it, the essence has to be the same, but your words have to be different, right? If the reported speech starts with what, if it is with what, leave it intact. The reporting verb said basis the tone of the speech, the reporting verb said might change into asked, demanded, questioned, inquired, and so on and so forth. That is completely dependent upon the tone of the speech that you are reporting, right? So he said, what is your name? So he asked, what was his name, right? I said to him, do you know how to speak English? I asked him whether he knew how to speak English, right? So this is how you are going to convert it in case it is in the form of your interrogative speech, right? So I think enough we have studied about direct and indirect speech. Now let us put it into practice, yeah? Let's see how much do we understand it actually, yeah? Okay, his father says honesty is the best policy. So how do you convert it? His father says that honesty is the best policy. You're not going to change the tense. Why? Because the verb is not in past tense. So his father says that honesty is the best policy. Rama said, I am very busy now. So Rama said that he was very busy then. Right? Now is going to convert into then. And I is going to convert into he. He said to him, is your name Khalid, right? So he inquired from him whether his name was Khalid or not, right? Because this was in, interrogation. This was an interrogative speech in the form of questions. Ali said to the beggar, I know you very well. Ali told the beggar that he knew him very well. He said, yes, I'll come and see you. He said that he would come and see me, right? Ram remarked, what a wonderful day. So Ram exclaimed, what a wonderful day it was. So now you understand, you have to go with the tone of the speech, right? Here an exclamation mark is used, which means someone is reporting this thing in huge excitement. There is an expression associated with it. So obviously when there is an expression associated, that expression has to be kept intact while you are converting it from direct to indirect speech. The poor beggar said, "O God, have mercy on my soul." So the poor beggar begged the God to have mercy on his soul. So you understand the tone, the expression of the reported speech. How do we keep it intact? Now I think while we are practicing it, you are you are getting much clearer about it, right? He said to me, "I expect you to attend the function." He told me that he expected me to attend the function. Raj said, "I am teaching English online." Raj said that he was teaching English online. He said, "By God, I am ignorant of the matter." So he swore by God that he was ignorant of the matter. So of course you understand, right? By God, what does that mean? It means he is swearing by God. So he said, he swore by God that he was ignorant of the matter, right? I think very clear you are, and I'm sure now it's become very easy for you to convert direct speech into indirect speech and all the technicalities which you need to keep in mind while you are doing that, right? So the answers are here ready for you. For your reference, we will see you again in the next video. Till that time, keep learning with Tutorials Point and Tutorix. Have a good day.